Hello, Ovia News viewers. We continue to bring you the latest developments regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. As you know, the war persists in all its reality, and all the developments throughout the war have been viewed from many perspectives. It has become increasingly challenging to make predictions about the outcome of the war. There have been numerous remarkable events throughout the conflict, and these occurrences have led to a significant shift. Firstly, an assassination attempt was made on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The confessions of the Russian assassin captured in the capital, Kyiv, have become the subject of global attention. It has been learned that Russian President Vladimir Putin has placed a $1 million reward on the head of Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky. As the Russian army's advance on Ukrainian territory began to stall, Russian leader Vladimir Putin began to ponder his next steps. He is aware that he can no longer maintain this occupation on Ukrainian territory. Putin, who stated on the first day of the war that they would invade Ukraine within 5 weeks, also announced that no Russian troops would be harmed in Ukraine. However, when we look at the latest situation of the war, it is seen that the Russian army lost 460,000 soldiers, and the war has been going on for more than 2 years. Russian leader Vladimir Putin is now implementing quite interesting strategies to continue this occupation on Ukrainian territory shortly after the war between Russia and Ukraine began. The Ukrainian allied countries began to provide military support to Ukraine. The Russian army had gained a great advantage over Ukraine thanks to the weapons and military equipment it had in the first months of the war. However, the military support sent by the United States and Western countries to Ukraine later in the war led to the end of this advantage of the Russian army. As it is known, the most trusted thing of Russian leader Vladimir Putin was the weapons and military equipment. In the Russian army's inventory, the Russian army has established great superiority over Ukraine thanks to its unmanned combat aircraft, long-range Iskander missiles, and important weapons such as S-400 air defense systems. This is precisely the reason why the Russian army advanced very quickly in Ukraine during the first 3 months of the war and occupied many regions. However, what Vladimir Putin and Russian General Staff Chief Valery Gerasimov really wanted was to invade the capital, Kyiv. However, the successful resistance of the Ukrainian army against the occupying Russian forces has ruined all of Vladimir Putin's plans. Ukrainian soldiers hastily made all bridges and roads leading to Kyiv unusable, preventing the Russian army from approaching. Not only that, but the Ukrainian army, which has established quite extensive defense lines in and around Kyiv, has not even allowed the Russian army to approach Kyiv. Thus, Putin preferred to attack areas near the Russian border on the territory. However, since Putin failed to occupy Kyiv, the duration of the war has become longer every day. This, in turn, led to the fact that Russian soldiers fighting on Ukrainian territory became reluctant to fight. As it is known, Vladimir Putin has made many moves to get more troops to fight in Ukraine and achieve ultimate victory. The declaration of partial mobilization is one of them. This decision, one of the most important decisions that Vladimir Putin has made, has not led to great success as Vladimir Putin predicted. The announcement of partial mobilization led to much bigger problems within the Russian army. Along with the mobilization, 300,000 Russian citizens were forcibly recruited into the Russian army, and these soldiers were sent to the territory of Ukraine after a 2-week training. However, these soldiers neither wanted to join the army nor wanted to fight in Ukraine. However, due to Putin's declaration of mandatory partial mobilization, these soldiers were forced to fight. Despite war analysts repeatedly stating that these soldiers will do more harm than good to the Russian army, Vladimir Putin did not care. Putin's only wish is for more Russian troops to fight in Ukraine. Thus, the collapse for Vladimir Putin began to fail to return. Here is the assassination order that Vladimir Putin gave for Zelensky, which occurred after these events. Vladimir Putin, who admitted that he was now beginning to lose the war on Ukrainian territory, was aware that in order to radically end this war and achieve victory in Ukraine, he had to eliminate Ukrainian President Zelensky. However, since the Russian army could not enter the territory of Kyiv, the Kyiv government under Zelensky could not be captured by Putin. Vladimir Putin, on the other hand, has now begun to directly target Zelensky. As for the details of the news, as it is known, Ukrainian government officials, generals of the Ukrainian Defense Forces, and Volodymyr Zelensky hold a meeting inside the government building on a certain day of every month. All Ukrainian generals and ministers are also participating in this meeting. The Russian intelligence service had information about this monthly meeting held in Kyiv. The Russian assassin was commissioned by Putin to organize an attack on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during this meeting. The Ukrainian government building is guarded by Ukrainian Special Forces soldiers for 24 hours. And it is not as easy as it seems to get into this building. However, the Russian assassin managed to somehow procure the same military uniform worn by Ukrainian Special Forces soldiers. The assassin, disguised as a Ukrainian Special Forces soldier, managed to gain entry to the building by pretending to be a Ukrainian soldier responsible for the security of the building on the day of this meeting held in Kyiv. The Russian assassin was waiting for an appropriate time inside the building to assassinate Zelensky. However, when the commander of the Ukrainian Special Forces noticed the Russian assassin, the whole plan of the Russian assassin fell through. The building serves as the command center for the Special Forces soldiers responsible for the security of this building. The Ukrainian commander, who ensures the security of the government building with the soldiers under his command, noticed the Russian assassin inside the building. Realizing that there was no such soldier in his unit, the Ukrainian commander realized that something was wrong. So, the Ukrainian commander began to closely monitor the Russian assassin. The Russian assassin was constantly on the move inside the building, which heightened the suspicion of the Ukrainian commander. In the end, the Ukrainian commander, together with the Ukrainian Special Forces soldiers under his command, had to intervene against the Russian assassin. It turned out that the Russian assassin, who was neutralized by the Ukrainian commander and his soldiers, was an agent working for the Russian intelligence service. Following this move of the Ukrainian soldiers inside the building, the meeting was also interrupted, and Ukrainian President Zelensky was quickly removed from the building. Finally, according to the information published by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine on April 29, 2024, under the heading Losses of the Russian Occupiers in Ukraine, 1320 eliminated personnel, 6 tank, 16 armoured combat vehicles, 37 artillery, 1 multiple launch rocket system, 2 air defence systems, 21 UAVs, 44 vehicles and fuel tanks, 3 special equipment were destroyed. What do you think? What do you think would have changed in the world if the assassination attempt on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had succeeded? How long do you think this war will continue? Let us know in the comments because we read and care about all your comments.